Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot. Oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girls.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girls. I am your host, Patricia Baker, and I'm here with my co-host in very warm Tucson.
Yes, darling.
Okay. Well, we're freezing in New England.
Oh, it's delightful here. I've got the house all opened up today.
Oh, I only wish. Well, we had a beautiful summer. It was very warm.
Smarty pants. I was in the oven all summer.
Yeah,
so
you were.
get the trade off here.
That's right. Well, we've got a great guest tonight. We are pre-recording because she's in Ireland, so we couldn't do our normal live 8:00 time, but we have a great show lined up for you. And before we bring Miss Fiona Dodwell on, let's hear about the numbers. What do we got going on?
Well, you know, it's very simplistic right now. This month is a preview of next year for everybody. I don't care what your number is, what's going on. So start making your plans. Make a list of what you want to do, what you have to work on, so that come January, you're already out of the chute, ready to go, ready to rock and roll.
Okay, I'm ready.
Easier.
I'm very ready.
Oh, so, I know I am.
Yeah.
The universal 9-year period.
That's right. I know it, really. And we're in spooky October. And so we were lucky enough, really, to get our guest for today and tonight because she's fabulous. I'm going to put my glasses on because I have a very small thing to read. I mean, it's small print, which is something I can't do anymore. But anyways, Fiona is the author of a new book. It is called The Cursed Collection, Haunted Dolls. There it is. Mm-hmm. Very spooky stuff, if you ask me. I mean, this to me is spookier than anything.
Makes me check out what the kids are bringing over with them when they come over with their little dolls.
Better double check. Mm-hmm. Stay safe. So let me tell you a little bit about Fiona. She is a freelance journalist and author who has been passionate about the paranormal for many years. She has studied demonology. We're going to have to talk about that. And she has also done paranormal research. She has also studied exorcism, theology. She's the author of several fictional paranormal titles. And she has studied haunted dolls more than any other subject in recent years and finds the idea of objects being spirited a fascinating concept. So we're going to learn something new today. That is for sure. Fiona, welcome to the show.
Hi. Hello. Hi.
Thank you for adjusting your schedule to be with us today. Did you get your childcare all taken care of so the kids are okay?
I've got a son and he's got lots of snacks and lots of bribery going on downstairs.
I know that one. That works every time.
I won't be interrupted.
Very good. It's okay if he does, though. But anyways, thank you for making those arrangements. I know it's not easy. But
you're welcome. It's great to be on.
Good. Now, how did you get into the paranormal? What's your story?
Okay, so it's hard to pinpoint exactly why, but as a child, I just had this fascination for as long as I can remember, just this real fascination with the idea of ghosts and hauntings and spirits. And I think I must have been about the age of 9 when I started reading the Point horror books. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but they were sort of all the craze when I was a kid anyway, these sort of horror books and ghost stories and stuff. So it started sort of like just reading creepy books, really. And then as I got a bit older, I started reading sort of like the A to Z of ghosts type of books and enjoying creepy walks around cemeteries, local cemeteries. And it just kind of, this fascination kind of grew and grew. And then as a teenager, I just really kind of spent a lot of time reading and researching, looking into hauntings, documentaries, horror movies, and just the whole array of that sort of thing just really kind of just became part of who I am, really. And then
did your parents think there was something wrong with you because you were into all this?
I think there was a few questions, like what's going on with Fiona, because it was quite strange. I really was, and I was quite a bit of a loner as well as a child, and I was just so like obsessed with the whole sort of thing of like ghost stories and horror books. And my parents probably did have a few sort of concerns, thinking what we got on our hands here, But I like to think that I've turned out quite rational and quite sort of level-headed to a degree. But yeah, as a young adult, I started to take it more seriously, and I started to like go on paranormal investigations and kind of writing my own articles on hauntings, and then it just kind of grew and grew from there, really, and to the point where like I started writing my own fictional ghost stories. And then, as you mentioned before, I've just recently written a book called A Cursed Collection of Haunted Dolls, and that's the culmination of my little obsession with the idea of dolls and objects being haunted. That's my big interest. So
that's great. I mean, gosh, we've never had anybody on to talk about this topic, and you are the expert apparently on this because you looked into this more than everybody else. So this is so creepy to me. I'm going to ask a lot of questions, but tell us, what is your creepiest, most haunted doll that you have come in contact with or heard about or researched?
In terms of my own personal experience, this kind of happened by accident. I was researching cases of haunted dolls for the book, and originally the aim was just to kind of collect other people's experiences and then kind of collate them into this volume, into this book. And it was during the writing of the book that a lovely friend, well, he's become a lovely friend anyway, a guy called Rob reached out to me, and he runs his own podcast. And basically he had been doing an experiment where he'd spent 2 nights alone in a hotel with a haunted doll. And he came from the background of being skeptical about the whole thing. But after these 2 nights in a hotel with this doll, he came away convinced that there was some energy attached, and he managed to capture some quite fascinating evidence, to the point that when he left the hotel, he wrapped the doll in a carrier bag, left it in his car boot, and then wouldn't have it in his house.
That's serious. Yeah,
it really unnerved him. So because he reached out to me when I was writing the book, and he said, hang on, I've got an idea. Do you want to live with a haunted doll for a while and see if anything happens, and you can have this experience yourself while you're writing the book? So this whole thing happened by accident, and I was a bit nervous, but I agreed to it. It was a doll called Edna, and Rob posted Edna to me, and it wasn't long before I started to have experiences and like really odd things happening. I mean, it wasn't long before I'd even unwrapped her before, you get that stereotypical feeling that you hear about of having like chills and goosebumps and the cold spots. And that was quite immediate. But at first I tried not to let myself be too convinced, because I thought, well, hang on, I'm probably looking for this. I've got a bias now to look for validation. So I tried to just sort of like say, hang on a minute, that could be coincidence.
Right.
But over time, more and more things happened. Like there was a couple of times where I saw a quick darting of a shadow figure moving out the corner of my eye. And funny enough, my husband, who is a complete skeptic, after Edna arrived, he had the same experience. He said he saw a shadow fleeting across the house, to the point where he got up from where he was sitting and looked around the house thinking somebody had got in.
Oh, boy.
And this has only started happening since having Edna. And then I started to take things further, and I started doing like using paranormal gadgets, like doing EVPs and asking questions. And I asked Edna, how old are you? And then a very childlike voice answered 6. And that was really like compelling to me, because it was quite a distinct response.
That is.
Then sort of I spent more time then trying to think up other ways. Like I bought a touch sensor light. It's a little ball, and it can only light up if you touch it. And I placed this little light on Edna, and there's been many occasions where I've said, okay, if you're listening, Edna, and if you're able to, can you touch this light for me? And then all of a sudden it will light up, you know. And I've caught this a few times, and it'll be interesting. I'll be able to email you clips, actually. I've filmed quite a few of my experiences with Edna, and, you know, it's quite fascinating to see that direct response to it. And even though that sounds quite fun, there's something unnerving about it, because there was one night I was in bed, and I must be crazy because I have the dolls in my bedroom.
Oh God!
How did you listen like that?
Very brave, very brave.
I have a lot of eyes watching me when I sleep.
Oh my!
But yeah, one night I was in bed, you know, fast asleep. Must have been sort of 3:30 in the morning, in the pitch black, and all of a sudden the room was lighting up like this, and I looked, and the little ball that was on Edna was flashing away like that. And obviously, because it's touch sensor and nothing was near her, and I hadn't touched it or been near it, that was quite unnerving then, because I thought, wow, it's sort of taking on a life of its own in a way, you know.
Yeah, because now she's starting to talk to you rather than waiting for you.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah,
That's
it changed.
Yeah. So, I mean, that kind of culminated in me writing a chapter about Edna in the book. And it came to the kind of time where I spoke to Rob and said, oh, shall I send Edna back to you now? And he said, actually, please don't, keep her. He was quite happy for me to keep Edna. So she still lives with me now. And I'll be, you know, documenting things that I capture with her, because she's been really fascinating to have that experience myself while I've been writing about it. So that's been wonderful, really.
Now, do you know the provenance of Edna, where she came from?
This is a thing. I mean, Rob was given information from, I believe, a medium that he'd spoken to. And so at the time, it's hard to verify that. But then he was told that the spirit attached to Edna was a child. And then that kind of linked in when I asked Edna, how old are you? And I heard the 6 in response.
Right.
That linked in with that. And then I spoke to Patti Negri, because I interviewed her for the book. And interestingly, I didn't really tell her anything, but she picked up on a child spirit as well. So to me, there definitely seems to be something there that, you know, like a young girl does seem to be there as part. But I don't know too much detail of her full story yet. So I'm still kind of, you know, examining that and learning as much as I can. So
yes, that's now. Does Edna turn up in different spots? Like, does you put her one place and she goes somewhere else on her own?
Not for me yet, but one of the reasons that Rob, my friend, became nervous was because he had left Edna in a chair, and several hours later, I can't remember if it was in the morning or later in the day, she was just lying across the floor. So I think that made him a bit nervous, but I haven't had that experience with Edna.
That would certainly do it.
So not yet any physical movement, but certainly responses in terms of me investigating her. I've had some validation, definitely.
That is so exciting to have that validation. And it makes sense that a child spirit would be attracted to a doll, especially a girl, you know. It would make a lot of sense that the spirit would see that and feel like this is mine, and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's something logical to it in my mind anyways. What about you, PK? Does it make sense to you too?
Definitely. I'm in awe how you want to live with it in the house.
Yeah, that's very, very brave of you. It is, and that you've taken this on. But you're learning so much, and that's what's exciting. And who knows, you might be able to trace this back to a young child who passed away.
That's it.
Validate it from there. And how old is this doll? Does anybody know?
The doll itself is not particularly old. It sort of looks, from what I can tell and have looked online, there's nothing, it's not like an antique or anything. It's just like a porcelain doll from the 80s.
Oh.
So one of the interesting things is that, you know, one of the things I've learned from all the cases I've researched with haunted dolls is it's not always necessarily that the doll is how we imagine it to be, like an antique or a vintage doll. Sometimes there might be a spirit attached because it resembles how that doll looked in their lifetime. It might be because a spirit is attracted to the idea of having a vessel that's just a human-looking vessel. And that's one of the interesting points, I thought, you know, because if you are a spirit and you are energy and you have this possibility of linking to something physical, to me, in my mind anyway, it makes sense that if you're able to, that you would want to identify in something that is human looking and that does have a face and these features, and to become an item that people are drawn to and that children and nurture and love and care for. That makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, and so you don't get any evil, creepy, demonic feelings with the doll at all?
No, not with this one. No. I do have a clown I do have a clown like that has me questioning if there's a bit of mischievousness there, but nothing like outwardly really like negative or evil or anything.
Well, tell us about this mischievous clown.
Okay, he's got a nickname. He's called Knock Knock Harry. And it sounds quite cute, doesn't it? And
yeah.
And basically, there was two sisters that I interviewed for the book. They call themselves the Supernatural Sisters, and they've had a bit of media attention over here because they really have spent a lot of years themselves, like studying haunted objects. And their story with Harry is that there was a group of teenagers that had been playing in a cemetery. And they'd be messing around, and probably a bit disrespectful maybe, but they'd be messing around on the gravestones and all this sort of stuff. And one night they came home and they started to hear knocking and noises, and a haunting kind of developed. And it became quite frightening to the family. And they called in help from a medium who said, "We think you've disturbed a spirit through your disrespect, the way you were playing on the graves, the actions that you were doing. There's a spirit that's been disturbed, and this is a spirit of a teenager called Harry, and he's 13, and he's followed you home. He's been intrigued by your energy, by what you were doing. He's not particularly happy about what you were doing, but he's here and he's in the home." And this is quite something I don't quite know so much about, but there are accounts of mediums that can bind spirits to objects through ritual. And the story goes that this medium, because of the disruption of Harry and the poltergeist-like activity he was doing, that she bound him to this clown doll. And it's, it sounds unusual, and you sort of think, that sounds kind of a bit crazy, but the sisters sent Harry to me, and I'm not even a sensitive, I'm not psychic or a medium, but there is such a strong, heavy energy around Harry and his features. Like, there's times where I have to turn him around because it feels so strong. Like, the feeling around him feels so strong, like he's looking at me, that it just feels palpable. And I have had quite a few encounters with him. Like, I was trying to do an EVP session with Edna, and when I played it back, it was a spirit box kind of application. When I was talking to Edna and I played it back, the voice said, "It's not Edna, it's me, Harry," and it sounded angry. And there was another time I did an experiment with him, and I won't say the word, but he swore at me. So I thought, there's definitely something a bit mischievous, a bit naughty about this spirit. So this one I'm a little bit on the fence with, but it's the first time, like with Edna, I had to go out of my way to verify and see things. But with Harry, it felt like it was that strong that it kind of hit me in the face, sort of thing. So with Edna and Harry both, I'm still continuing my examinations of them and my investigations, but he's the one that makes me a bit more nervous, for sure.
Oh my gosh, yes, because my goodness, you also have studied demonology.
Yes.
And the knocking, we've heard this, and tell us what you think. If you hear knocking 3 times, that's usually a demon. Have you heard that before? Is that true?
I have. Yeah, I have heard that there's a significance of the number 3 in demonology and in demonic activity. And, the belief is, as I'm sure that you know, it's supposed to be a mockery of the Trinity. There's a link in with that number. So that's why you get the stereotypical, stories of people being woken up right at 3 a.m. in the morning when activity happens, and the 3 knocks. There is definitely something to that, and it seems to be a theme that reoccurs in quite a few cases of people who said they've experienced demonic activity. So it's interesting to see whether that's how that links in.
So this, I think, is pretty much of global piece of information, because people, when we talk to people like you from another country, it gets confirmed again. You know who we first heard it from, PK, is George Lugo.
I was going to say, I thought it was George. Yeah.
George, you're right. Your dear buddy. So it's just, I think you are the most courageous woman we know. You live with these dolls.
Oh, gosh.
No,
courageous or stupid, one of the two.
We'll have to say, maybe it depends on what day it is, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Now, the dolls that you have around you, do you have a specific thing with each doll?
The thing is, like I have an interest in haunted dolls, but my interest also lies in collecting them in general. So actually, there's only a couple that I own that I feel have that kind of paranormal energy. Most of the dolls that I own are just because I have a love of collecting dolls, like especially like antiques and vintage ones. So a lot of the ones that I have around my home are just like normal dolls, but they still manage to creep visitors out. They're not too happy when they come in and look, you know.
They're not too sure which ones they are, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, the dolls are very interesting to look at, and their different faces and such. And that's why I was wondering how many that you have that have this connection, shall we say, with the other side. Do you have them in a specific room or a specific area, or do you keep them all separate, or do you intermingle them?
Well, there's Harry, who used to be in my bedroom, but now has been, he's been placed in the lounge. I'm not happy with him.
He's been demoted, huh?
Yeah. So Harry is in my lounge where I have my, TV and sofa and bookshelf and everything. And then I keep Edna in my bedroom in the shelf with all my sort of regular dolls. And there was a time actually that I brought Edna downstairs and placed her on a shelf. And I can't remember the exact words, but I did do an EVP session, and there was a couple of words that gave the indication of like, no, put me back where, don't leave me with this riffraff sort of thing, like bring me back to where I belong. So I put her back in my bed.
With this trash.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my! Now with Knock Knock Harry. I mean, it kind of sounds mean that a medium would have bound the spirit to a clown, but I understand he was kind of mischievous. He was following people back, or this group back to their home. But it really is an interesting take on what to do with a spirit who's earthbound, when so many mediums would help cross over this entity. Maybe didn't want to go. I mean, he sounds like pretty stubborn.
Yeah.
But it's just, I have never heard this before. Have you heard this before, PK? No.
I'm totally amazed with all of this.
Yeah, this is all new. This is super.
It's not something that I'd heard of it. I mean, like I'd heard of the concept of spirits being in like trapped or tethered to an object.
Yes.
But when I realized, when I was given Harry and told that his spirit had been attached to it, it did kind of make me feel a little bit sort of question that, like maybe he does have that anger because he's a bit annoyed at what's happened.
Trapped with this clown. So maybe as you go forward in your communications with him, you can find out if he wants to be attached or not.
Yes,
that
exactly.
Would be great to know. Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is a whole new dimension to us. This really is exciting. I'm starting to feel more comfortable now.
Oh, good.
So, but this is really fascinating. So, okay, now, what about other attachments? Because I know spirits can attach to furniture, for example. It doesn't have to be a doll. Stuffed animals. How about children being attracted to stuffed animals? Have you found that?
Yeah. As I was kind of going through cases that I was writing about, and obviously the book focuses on haunted dolls, but through that research, I was finding so much other information and cases on haunted objects in general and cursed objects, things like that. That's kind of what's kickstarted me writing my second book, which I'm working on at the minute, because there are. I mean, it's very, very early stages, but I'm just a few chapters in, but I've got a lot of research notes, because once you kind of open the door to haunted dolls, you realize actually how far this subject extends, And And you're quite right. Like, it's not, I think because of Hollywood and horror films, we often think of dolls first when we think of a haunted object like this.
But Chucky, that franchise.
I was just going to say Chucky.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of the Chucky film, and actually Don Mancini, the director and writer of Child's Play, and Jennifer Tilly, who acts in the film, they were interviewed for the book as well.
Oh my.
No, I do have a little section at the back of the book about horror films that were influenced by haunted dolls. So it was interesting. So just the idea really kind of expanded from dolls, that I thought I'm going to have to write more, because as you pointed out, anything could potentially be, whether it's a piece of jewelry or a family heirloom or an antique or something that was loved by somebody. Something can absorb that energy. It doesn't have to be restricted to what we stereotypically associate with a haunted item.
My husband used to collect antiques, and he brought home a chair that was haunted once.
Really?
Yes. And this is when we lived in a different home, and everything was an open floor plan. So there were no doors to close off rooms. And this chair was in an office area, but that was adjacent to the bedroom. And I would hear somebody walking around, and I knew it came from this chair, because there was nothing going on in the house until that chair came in. And I'm glad he sold it, because I didn't have the feeling that this was a positive entity. I didn't feel like it was demonic, but I felt like it had issues. And that's why it was attached to this chair, and maybe was somewhat confused. So I was glad when that was gone.
You were glad to get it out of the house.
Yeah, I was glad to see it go to somebody else's house.
Were you able to find out what kind of the spirit was attached, whether any kind of information?
It was a man. I think he was in his 50s. But everything about him was, not everything, but a lot of things about him were dark. His clothing, the energy around him. He was not a free spirit. He was definitely tied to the chair, bound to it in some way because he liked it, or maybe he was there when they took it out of his home and he didn't like that,
Right.
So something like that was the feeling I got. But there really wasn't anybody I wanted to have a conversation with.
No, doesn't sound like it. That would be a great experience to have in your home. Yeah.
No, there wasn't. So out he went with the chair. So,
Fiona, you have how many children?
I've just got one child.
Just one. Is the reason I was asking, is the child attracted to the dolls in a specific way, or the dolls to the child?
Well,
Good
it's
question.
funny because I was very kind of wary because he's quite young. I didn't want to scare him with all this stuff that I'm into. But I think, you can't shelter a child from what you're into yourself. But now whenever I buy a new doll myself, he'll come up to me and say, well, is it alive, Mum? And I'll be like, well, I don't know really, but he's got this fascination himself now, and he's attracted to kind of the stories and the energy. And I kind of explain these things in a way that's doesn't seem frightening, the way that horror films and things would have us believe.
How old is he?
He's 8 years old.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
He's to be inquisitive enough about everything, and which makes it nice. You get a chance to see both sides of things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, and you're there to reassure him, and you've got everything under control because nothing is going to get by you. So
exactly.
Definitely.
That's wonderful. So,
has he ever come to you and said that one of the dolls have come to him or made some gesture towards him?
He hasn't actually, no. And I'm
I think that's good.
I'm glad, yeah. Yeah. Right. It's not happened so far, and I kind of hope it would stay that way, because it would make me a bit more uneasy if I felt like it was affecting him, if you know what I mean. So, but nothing so far.
Yeah, it would not necessarily be in a negative way either. It could be more of a learning element.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. I think that's one thing I've had to remind myself, is that it's quite easy to feel scared about the subject or the idea of paranormal experiences, but quite often our fear is just a response because it's something new and unknown. It's not necessarily coming from a negative place. That's quite a good thing to sort of be reminded of. I think a lot of the cases we read about is the fear is an instant response to something strange happening, which is understandable.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What about suits of armor? I've heard that entities love to hang around suits of armor.
I've had the same, like in kind of here in England, that we have historical houses and castles, and I have come across cases of that, where that's happened, but I don't know of any case like accounts in detail to describe here. But it's an interesting one that I want to look into for the next book, because it is something that kind of has come up a few times. So,
well, you're in the perfect place, Europe, my
Yes.
God, with all your castles there in Ireland, and
absolutely,
I mean, you've got so many places to visit. All business write-offs, right?
yes.
Good thinking.
Stay in a castle for a few days. It's a business write-off. I love it.
It'd be wonderful.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, but I've heard this over and over again about suits of armor. So I'm glad you're looking into it. You're going to have to come back and tell us what you found.
I'd love to. Yeah.
We need to know.
Yes, definitely.
And oh my God, this is so. Now I'm fascinated. I'm not scared anymore. You changed me, Fiona.
That's good.
Oh, this is really an exciting topic. What else can you tell us about all this?
I think that one of the interesting things that I like to talk about is the idea of how these objects become haunted, because there's this idea, like when you say to somebody, oh, there's a doll and there's a spirit attached, there's a skepticism there that there isn't there if you would say that a house is haunted, for example. People are quite ready to accept that a building or like a hotel or a house can be haunted, and then as soon as you say this doll's haunted, there's an immediate kind of there's a bit more of a barrier there. So I found it quite interesting to kind of explore with people that how a doll or an object can become as haunted as a house, and I think there are a few different theories, and we did touch upon it earlier at the beginning. And I think one of the main theories is that a spirit can become attached because it wants to inhabit a vessel that's familiar looking to them. As I said before, it's a human looking vessel. It's something that a spirit can relate to. It could be that a doll has been used in a ritual kind of, or a curse, something like that, wherefore like the energy is quite negative and dark. And then you go to something like the stone tape theory. So if there's an object like a doll that's been around something that's been very heavy with an energy of an event that's happened around it, whether it soaks some of that energy up. And there's quite a few different ideas, really. And you can't kind of pinpoint every case. Every case is different. So, you have to look at each case based by, each case on how you find it.
Now, you're part of the world, as well as where I am in Massachusetts, near Salem. It's all about witchcraft, too. So how much does that play into this? That, like you were talking about, needing to look at this from a different perspective of why these things and how these things get attached. And witchcraft is known for doing things like this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing with dolls, and what's so fascinating about them is that they haven't always just been like toys and playthings. We've seen like discoveries of dolls in as far back as 2000 BC, and in ancient Egyptian tombs, and in ancient Greece, brides used to use a doll and kind of use a doll in sacrifice to the gods to kind of bless their marriage. And it's interesting, and in voodoo as well, kind of this idea of using dolls to,
with voodoo, that's really works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so in ritualistic purposes, or to use them as a kind of effigy to kind of represent somebody in a kind of spell, in that sense. So yeah, you can go really far back with them and see this absolutely fascinating, like really rich history. And it kind of shows that, for as long as humans have been here, it seems that there's some kind of indication that we've been drawn to these little human-like vessels. And that's, if anything, it's just increased throughout the years.
What else you might want to look into? I'm sorry, PK. I'll just ask.
I was just going to ask. I noticed most of the dolls are female. Do you come across many male dolls?
Yeah, there have been. Like, there have been cases of haunted male dolls, and I've, in terms of collecting them as dolls in general. Obviously, there are like plenty of male dolls, but yeah, there's a good mixture, really. I mean, you have Harold the doll. I don't know if you've heard of Harold.
No.
He was a very big case. I think it was 2015. A guy called Anthony Quinata bought Harold in an eBay auction, and his idea was that this doll was supposed to be haunted, and he was like, let's just buy this doll, see what happens. And he had this little goal in mind of owning the doll and then writing a book about it. And he had this whole absolute array of really creepy and at times negative experiences with Harold the doll, to the point where Anthony even blamed his dog's death on owning this doll. There was a lot of negativity, and eventually this doll caught the attention of Zach Bagan from Ghost Adventures, and and Zach actually had the doll on his show at one point. And it was just a fascinating case, so that's Harold, and then we have Robert the doll as well. So there have been cases of in terms of paranormal phenomena around male dolls. It's just, I think it's probably more common because there just does seem to be generally more girl dolls, female. Yeah.
I was just going to mention this. I've told this story before, but you may be particularly interested. There are these figurines from Acambaro, Mexico, and they were uncovered and brought to a museum here in the United States by somebody who lived here. And the museum refused to take them because they said they didn't go along with the timeline, because these were figurines next to human figurines next to dinosaurs. And you know how museums are. They don't like that. It just ruins their narrative. It's like, no, these two things didn't happen side by side. So anyways, the gentleman that ended up bringing these back ended up keeping them. Some of them were called creator gods, and they were made out of clay. And so he brought them to a scientist in Ossining, New York, and this scientist took one of the creator gods and put it in the cage with research mice that she had. And when she came in the next morning, this is what she found. The creator gods had fluted ears. The mice had fluted ears.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
Really?
So that's a whole other situation.
Yeah.
I have asked. I know the person who owns them now. She won't take them out of storage, but I've tried to find some of these things that I'm very interested in. It doesn't creep me out, but it probably should. He ended up, the man who owned them, he was the man who invented the Bell helicopter, and he ended up having them in his office. And he got so creeped out by them, and he was big into the paranormal. He packed them away. He took them out of his office.
Really?
There was something so intense about them, he couldn't take the energy. So he packed them away. And that's where they are today, packed away. So, yeah, but I just wanted to mention that to you. You might want to check into that. It's Acambaro is where they're from in Mexico. And supposedly there's a whole museum of them that I think is privately owned. And I've tried. I'd love to get some of those to see what happens.
Absolutely. It'd be amazing time with those, isn't it? And just to see what would happen and if what you can sense and everything. That's amazing. Yeah.
It's a real big thing, and real big goal of mine is to get my hands on them. But anyways,
will it make you nervous? That would be quite brave then. You wouldn't be too nervous to try that.
I don't know why that doesn't bother me, but the dolls do. My husband used to tease me all the time when he would go to these antique auctions. Oh, they're having a big doll auction. You want to come? I'm like, no. Get away from me. Not going. But the clay figurines from South America, Mexico, I really like those. And I don't feel anything from them that does the same thing that dolls do. I don't know why. But it's a whole different energy too, I think. I think this is more of an ancient energy. Whereas this is much more contemporary.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I think the difference, like you were talking about there with objects and everything, is that I think with dolls, there's a double whammy of fear, isn't there? Because you have the idea of them being haunted, which is creepy, but then people actually naturally find dolls creepy anyway, if you know what I mean. Like there's a lot of us that find dolls and these little human features and these are staring eyes quite unnerving as it is. So it's the actual items themselves that are just as kind of unnerving as
what about your husband? What does he think about your dolls?
He rolls his eyes every time I buy a new one. You know, he puts up with me.
No.
Quite recently, I was at an antique shop and I saw this absolutely wonderful, really, I say about 3 foot tall, maybe, of this antique clown. And it had like a massive nose, and you could see the detail of the little teeth. And I've just been hinting to my husband, I really want this clown as an early Christmas present. You know, he sort of took one look and sort of wandered off and pretended he didn't hear me. But, you know, I'm always like drawn to these things, and I just got to kind of start walking down the town and not looking really, because I would have a house full of oddities if I could.
That's right. We actually interviewed a couple that had oddities. Remember them?
Oh, God. Yes.
They're in Connecticut. You might want to connect with them. I'll find their information for you.
Okay, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, they have a whole house that's all these oddities. They collect them from everywhere. Yeah. I know they have dolls for sure. So I think
did they do a show? Because there's a couple that did a documentary, isn't there? The Binding. I don't know if that's the same couple or not, but there's a couple that were in a documentary about haunted objects, and they also have their own collection as well. It could be them, I'm not sure, but I'd love to be put in touch, definitely.
They did have a haunted doll. Remember, that was the one that would run across the room?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. So they did have that. I remember they talked about that on the show, and they have a whole host of other things. So I'll put you in touch with them if you'd like.
I'd love to. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. We just have to remember their names.
Don't look at me. My memory, I don't remember how to get across the house.
Sometimes we can't remember our own names, so we'll find them. We will track them down. They are in Connecticut, so they're not far away. But you'd enjoy talking with them, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
I'll get you their phone number and everything, their email.
Thank you.
Yes. So again, all these haunted objects, they all, I think it comes from so many different, this is going to be a long second book. There's so much to talk about.
Absolutely.
Armor, more on the dolls. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. What about that Annabelle doll that the two in the paranormal investigators had?
Yeah, the Ed and Lorraine Warren case.
Ed and Lorraine, thank you. Yeah. See, I can remember.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It was actually like, because the Annabelle case was so huge and so well known and popular and infamous, that was the case that really kind of that first drew me to the subject. So I just really found that whole like story and the accounts that were going around just fascinating, and so I kind of carried that story in the back of my mind. And then it was sort of like 2014, 2015, then there was the Peggy the doll story over here in England that became absolutely massive. I don't know if it was something you'd heard of, but
no, tell us about that.
Okay, so this lady in England, she had a vintage doll. I think it was like a doll from the 40s or 50s. It was a tall doll, like a Walker doll with blonde hair, big blue eyes. And since owning this doll, this individual felt like she was experiencing unsettling and creepy things in the house and having nightmares, and like she was putting all this negativity down to the doll because it had only started happening since having the doll. So she was so frightened in the end that she locked it in her garden shed or some kind of outhouse, and she ended up calling in the help of Jayne Harris, who is one of the presenters of Help My House is Haunted here in England.
Oh wow.
And Jayne became really involved and actually visited the house and took the doll and spent a lot of time examining and investigating Peggy, and she documented a lot of things to verify that she felt that the doll was haunted. but just a lot of negative things around this doll. But then her story made headlines over here, like national newspapers and everything. And then suddenly there was an influx of readers saying, just from looking at the photo of Peggy, we felt ill, or we had this negative feeling. There was one lady, I think she said that she had a stroke shortly after viewing a photo of her. And then kind of the story grew and grew. And that story really stuck with me because I thought it's fascinating to see. Obviously, I knew the historical case of Annabelle, but here was a story that was becoming massive over here that seemed to be like happening in real time. And that really interested me. Eventually, Zach Bagans took Peggy the doll, and I think she's in the Haunted Museum there in America now.
Oh, so she's over here now.
So she's your problem now. Yeah.
Gosh. What were some of the things that happened around Peggy?
So I think that there was some kind of physical, scratches and bruises that were coming up on the owner originally. And she put that down to Peggy. She felt like a really negative energy coming from her. And then she started having like nightmares and night terrors and that sort of thing. And then as Jayne kind of removed the doll and did her own investigations, I think Jayne kind of like online on her social media pages started to document her own investigations and was capturing unusual things with Peggy, which I think is probably still available online. And she wrote a whole book about that case alone in the end. Gosh. I actually ended up interviewing Jayne for the book, so she talks about that case quite a bit in the book that I've written. So that was the sort of the thing that kind of cemented like this interest for me, and that was sort of, like I said, about 10 years ago. And then from then on I just kind of carried on this journey of just kind of learning as much as I could, really.
Now, do you want people to contact you if they think they have something haunted? Would you be interested in that? So how would they get a hold of you?
So yeah, absolutely, I would love to hear from people, because as the second book I'm writing, it's still in its early stages, but I'm also hoping to include another chapter in the new book on haunted dolls and haunted objects, cursed objects in general, so kind of covering that whole area. So I'm always looking for new cases or even just hearing people's experiences. So I am on social media, like I'm on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. If you look up Fiona Dodwell, I've put kind of my biography with the title of my book in it to make it evident that that's my account. And if people can reach me or message me, it'd be wonderful to hear from people, just to hear their experiences. And if there's something that really resonates enough, it'd be possible to include that in another book. So. Okay,
good. So everybody out there listening, if you have a haunted object or a haunted doll, contact Fiona, and maybe your story will go into her new book. So
nice.
That would be nice. Yeah, I have an idea too. This would take tremendous bravery from both PK and I. We should think about doing a show when you have your EVP, your recording going, and talk to both of your talkers here, Edna and your
Harry.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, let's see, because we're both very psychic and we both do mediumship. Maybe we can amp it up a little.
That'd be brilliant.
Have a big conversation with these two.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see what you pick up on, actually. That would be wonderful to do something like. Yeah,
I got to put my big girl pants on for this, but I will.
Yeah. Surprise!
We should do that. I think that would be a blast. So
yeah, absolutely.
We'll coordinate your schedule, and we'll do it during the day again as a pre-record, and we'll find out when our producer is available to do that.
Okay.
So give me some times and days, and we'll get it set up, because that
would be great.
Really
absolutely
exciting. Yes, I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh! See, you've turned me into one of your followers now. Yes. Well, I feel safe with you, Fiona. That's why. I think you know how to handle these things.
Hopefully I'm a good sign that you can kind of throw yourself into this subject and still have a little bit of sanity left. So it's
yes,
Yeah.
you're very sane, you're delightful, and really, I'm very much enjoying this, aren't you? This is great.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not going to make me want to run out and get a doll, but
No, I don't think so. In fact, any I have in the house are now leaving.
really. Now, have you been invited to view anybody's doll collection where they feel it's predominantly haunted?
I have had to be been in contact with somebody, and this is actually there's a museum here in England where it's not just dolls. There's like a collection of paranormal items, and I've kind of written a little bit about this place, and the owner very kindly said that I could pop by and spend some time there. So it hasn't happened yet, but I would like to arrange it, because it would be nice to sort of have that experience of not just one or two items, but a whole a whole array of items to see, and perhaps even bring my doll with me and see if kind of
intercommunicate.
Yeah,
They get along. Play date.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now that's a new book, The Play Day of the Dolls.
Yes, yes, that would
sounds
be
like a horror
exciting.
film,
Could be. Gosh, keep track of these ideas. They could be money makers in Hollywood for you.
Definitely.
Really, no, this is great. So I don't know, Bill, if you're available, if you could flash the beautiful cover of the book, that's very spooky, for our spooky October. There it is, A Cursed Collection of Haunted Dolls by Fiona Dodwell, our guest for today and this evening. Excellent. Who designed that cover?
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm awful, aren't I? Because the name has totally escaped me. But I've worked with some amazing people, because originally we're actually going to have photographs of the haunted dolls in the book, and because of the whole story with things like Robert the doll bringing bad luck when people take his photo, and Peggy the doll causing people ill health, we thought, actually no, we're not going to have any real photos, and we opted to have somebody do an illustration, like a whole set of illustrations of dolls. So there's some wonderful pictures in the book, some artwork, and the cover artwork has been amazing. So yeah, just so your listeners know that there won't be any actual pictures of Peggy to kind of worry you. You don't have to worry about that. So
good. That's good to know. No, really, because whether it is just a subtle suggestion that people take in and they make themselves sick, or if it's real, I mean, it doesn't matter either way. Somebody's suffering under the guise of that. So it does. It was smart to put them on the cover of your book.
It has an effect.
No, really. This has been so much fun, Fiona.
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed speaking to you both.
Well, we're glad, because
for us.
Yeah.
But I'm going to start looking at dolls differently now.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Do you have any at your house?
I do have one.
Okay.
That I've put in a box a long time ago. Is that funny?
Yeah.
Now I wonder about whether I want to check it out or not.
You can send this to me for a holiday, perhaps.
That's right. Get her ready for Christmas.
Yeah.
That's when I got the doll.
Yeah, really? Christmas?
Years ago.
Wow. Okay. Alrighty then.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Well, Fiona, again, thank you so very much for your time, for making your special arrangements just to join us today. It's been so much fun and very delightful. And I have learned so much. And I know you have too, PK.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
And I keep looking at those dolls, looking at me. But
no, really. One of them's going to fall off there and scare us out.
I'll be out of this room if that happens. Don't worry.
Okay. We'll all be running.
So thanks so much for having me on and talking with me. It's been lovely to catch up with you both.
A pleasure, really. Thank you.
Look forward to our next visit together.
Yes, we'll set it up. Okay, I got to wrap. So everybody, thank you for joining us. We will be back next week with another great show. Until then, we will see you on the Blue Highway. Just leave your dolls at home, okay? Good night.
Please. Thank you.
Thank you.